Welcome to Let's Learn Mashinky. All right, welcome back to another Mashinky video. This is going to be the first one in our fundamentals series, and we're going to talk about the green tokens and city growth. Those two concepts kind of go together very well. So we're going to talk about what's the main source of making the green tokens, which is kind of our money, and what are they used for, and how do we make them, and then how do we grow our cities to promote making a lot of green tokens. So, and I'll probably just call it money or cash or whatever, but it's the green tokens I'm talking about. And we're going to fire up our same little the tutorial setup for this, and we're going to use the same we'll keep using the same seed, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and I think that way we can see it's a good one because it's got some it's easy to use, it's easy to remember, and it gives us some consistency as we go through the fundamentals. So let's just start a game using that seed. We'll generate our little small map, and we'll have to go through the tutorial again. And I'm not going to walk you guys through this. I'm assuming when you have the game, you can go through this and figure this stuff out. It's not difficult. Okay, they want us to do Colorado Springs, which is down here, and they want us to do San Antonio, which is also down here. And those are two good-sized cities, so this is an easy one. They gave us an easy one here. But you can notice, if you saw the first video, the introduction, that the setup is very, 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 yeah, it's almost exact. Yeah, it is. It's just like the one we had before. I think the difference would be some of the city populations might be different, and the city names are probably different. Let's see. Well, no, Tucson, LA, Portland, that's the same three. So very, very consistent this time. All right, so let's talk about the green coins. First of all, what are they used for? So here's the green coins. And by the way, just as a quick thing, you can click down here. When you see these coins, you can click in this area, and you get these nice little charts that show you what's going on with your stuff. So it'll have each of the coins as they come available will show up here, and you can filter and turn them on and off and show your report with or without those items. So we're looking at our money. Oh, they call it money too. Okay, good. Looking at our money, and first of all, let's talk about why do you need money? Well, first of all, to lay track. Let's go back into our planning or building mode. If I click on the track and say, okay, I want to build track, you can see it costs money. If I build a tunnel, it costs money, lots of money. If I build a bridge, it costs money. A lot of the trains cost money. A lot of the box cars cost money. So money is the main thing you need. Fortunately, in this game, it's also the easiest thing to make. It really is. So let's talk about, you kind of get the idea of why you need the money. You use it for some of your upgrades. You use it for track, and like I said, track, tunnels, bridges, locomotives, box cars, and a biggie, terrain modification. If we were on the mountain map, and let's say we wanted to level that place right there, let's just level that piece. You can see 255, I'll call them dollars since I'm an American, but 255 money it's going to cost to level that out. So, and we'll get into all that kind of stuff about how you do the terrain modifications and why. And that, by the way, I said in the intro, that's my worst thing. God, I suck at it. So if any of you are any good at it and got some helpful hints, I am open for, my ears are open. Okay, so that's kind of the idea of the green coins. Now let's talk about how we grow a city. If we look at a city like Colorado Springs here, it tells us that with the people, our passengers, make money for us, and the city itself produces the people. So people make money, the city produces people. And it also tells us about city growth that the size of Colorado Springs is 13 right now. And I actually don't, the 13, 14, I'm not 1,000,000,000% sure what that means. We're going to have to figure that one out. But for it to go up to 14, I do know this. It's going to take 130 passengers to build another house. These houses, you can see right here. Here's a house that has one person in it. Here's a church. It represents 3 people and 3 green coins. And it produces, we're going to figure this one out too. 4 times, it produces 4 people. So having that in your catchment area can give you 4 passengers. Yeah, that makes sense. So you can get 4 passengers from that. Having this house in your catchment area can give you 1 passenger. Having this particular house gives you 1. This house gives you 1, etc. Okay, so these houses and churches, buildings inside your catchment area of your station will produce passengers for you. So let's go and put in a station. Let's put one right there. Now, if you look at this station as it is right now, it's only picking up these buildings right here. It's picking up 1, 2, 3 houses, and those houses are producing 1, 1, and 1. So we're only going to get 3 passengers that are going to use our line. So we need to extend this in order to catch the whole city. So we'll get into that in a minute. But at any rate, so we've got our station going over here in Colorado Springs, and let's go over to San Antonio, and you can see San Antonio is a bigger city. So San Antonio produces passengers. It is at a level where it needs 260, which makes sense. It's at 26. It needs 260 people to build another house to expand. And in fact, it's twice as big as Colorado Springs and happens to need twice as many people in order to grow. I don't know if that ratio stays forever, but I have a sneaky suspicion it does. So let's put a station in San Antonio. I'm going to make it as big as it'll get, which is 6. And now we look at the catchment area of it, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 houses in it. You also notice the size of the houses. This is a bigger house. It actually produces 2 people, whereas the smaller house produces 1. So basically, these bigger ones are better, but they do take up more space. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen there. This one's a bad one because it takes up 2 spaces and it only produces 1 person. So that wouldn't be your favorite house. This house here is better because it produces the same amount but takes up less space. Okay, so now to make these cities grow, we need to give them, as it tells us, they need passengers. They need people. So if in fact, the first thing we're going to do, we showed this in the introduction, but let's just let this run for a minute on fast forward. Okay, so let's pause it again. If you'll notice, we already have 5 passengers waiting to go somewhere in Colorado Springs. And we already have 8 passengers waiting to go somewhere in San Antonio. How could that be? They have no place to go. Well, it's because, as I said in the introduction video, in this game, people want to go somewhere, and they literally don't care where they go. They just want to go somewhere. So that's what happens. You start producing these passengers right away. So your station accepts passengers. That means people coming into the station. It produces passengers. That means it grabs passengers from all these buildings, if you will, right? And that's where we are at this point. Now, the interesting thing, it accepts 9, but that's kind of not true. It's going to take whatever we give it. So let's just see what happens here. If we connect the 2 cities, now they actually have a place to go. If they had a train, they would actually have a place to go. So let's go ahead and I'm going to let it keep running while I build it, because the cool thing is those passengers are growing. So why not let them grow while we put in our depot, And we'll get into all this kind of stuff later as well if you need help with it, but it's pretty straightforward. We're going to just grab, I'll grab 3 Pullman because they want us to for our little objective over here. So we've got a train, and I talked about this before. The length of it's 5.59. The length of our stations is 6, so it's cool. It will fit. And so let's just give it orders to go over here and then go over here. So I'm clicking the plus and clicking the station, clicking the plus, clicking the station, and tell it to start. And off it'll go. And notice how many, look at this, we've already got 50 and 30 some passengers waiting to go. So we're going to start making money right away. Now, I want to watch this carefully. We've got 58 people coming in. And once, right, I'm going to pause it right when we get up to the station. Okay, stop right there. All right, so if we look at Colorado Springs, remember it needs 130 people to grow. It's got 58 in the train. So here comes the train into the station. There's the 58. So it's got 58 out of the 130 that it needs. So we'll let it keep running. And here comes, we only had, now we're already down to smaller groups. And I'll show you how to fix that in a minute too. We're getting very light loads right now. But there's 19 more, so now we're up to 77. So let's just stop right here because this is going to take forever. And let's talk about, what I've seen of the game so far, you absolutely want to build your waiting room as soon as humanly possible. You want that waiting room attached to your station. So now you can see our catchment area is all of this. So remember we were just drawing from these 3 houses. Now we've got this church which produces 4. We've got this guy which produces 1. This guy, in other words, we've got a lot more potential people coming in. And we have a coal mine here. Now, we may or may not want that coal mine to be loading up on our passenger platform. In fact, I say right now, let's just say we don't. So I'm going to open up that platform and say down here, produces coal, I'm going to put an X. I don't want this platform to produce coal. And that's an interesting choice in words that it says the platform produces stuff. Obviously, we want to think about it as the coal mine is producing the coal. But for our purposes of shipping it, which is all we do, we don't actually own this. Although it's interesting, we don't own it, but we do expand it. Get into that later. But we don't need to have the coal here. We want the coal going somewhere else. Probably a different line we'll set up. So let's just go back to looking at our city growth. So we're at 77. Oh, and I should have really, this is what I really should have done. We're going to set up. Notice here we're only got that first row, 1, 3, 6, 7 houses that we're impacting. So we are going to put an extension. I'm going to put an extension on this station. And we can't quite get back to all those. That's a shame, but that's okay. Now we've more than doubled our capacity over here. Plus we've added more capacity. In other words, more people are willing to line up at the station this way. So we've increased our catchment area. We've increased our capacity for people. So let's go back. Let's go on back now. We've got 24 more people coming in, and we wanted to look at the growth of Colorado Springs. So here comes 24 more people. Now we're up to 101. So we just got a one more pass ought to do it for us now. So now that we've got, now you can see it's growing a little bit faster. Now this is such a short line, you don't get a lot of passengers right off the bat. But look at that, we've got 47 now instead of like 19 or whatever. So that, that waiting room will pay for itself super quickly. So 101, there we go. Now, another house was built. It happened so fast we probably missed, I think it was that one, but whatever. Another house was built because we passed that threshold. Now we reset and we need 140 to get to our next house. So we're at 14, we need 140. I think there's a pattern here. We're at 26, we need 260. And we're going to have 93 of those. So anyway, that's how you grow your cities. Now, when you grow your cities, and there are more ways to grow the cities that we'll talk about later on, but this is the elementary. This is the starting way to do it, and the main way to do it is through passengers. So as you're growing your cities with these passengers, what happens is you want it to grow inside the catchment area of your station. So building a house out here is not going to help us. So we're going to next thing we're going to talk about is how do we optimize so that we're growing the city in a way that helps us build our railroad and get more passengers. So what we'll see though, as the city grows, each trip the train is just going to grab a few more passengers. The trains are going to get more and more full as they go, as the city grows. So the amount of money that you're making continues to grow. So that's why I say that making the green coins and building your cities go hand in hand. So as this keeps running, these two cities will keep growing one another, and they will keep expanding. And we're going to now go into how do we make sure that it really does help us, because again, if it grows out this way right now, it won't help us. Now that doesn't mean we couldn't put another station over here and treat the San Antonio almost from our point of view as if it were two cities. We could do that, but here's what we're going to do to really help us out. We're going to extend, we're going to put in a platform, and we're going to make this station go out as far as it'll go, and see how our catchment area is now way out here. And we're going to do the same thing over here and expand our catchment area. So now the catchment area goes all the way out in here in all this nice flat land that we have. And what we want to do now is we want to build roads in our catchment area such that they will create the places where new houses can be built, and now we can grow. So what I'm going to do here is use a technique. I'm going to leave that space open for a house. Then I'm going to build a road that goes 3 past the end of my station. That's the end of the station right there. So if you go 3 past, you leave space out on the end to grow. So this is what I've come up with, and I'd love for somebody to come back, somebody much more clever than me, come back with a better way to do this that's more optimized. I mean, you could just literally just build little one or two square roads here and just patchwork them in. But this seems to be pretty easy and pretty efficient. So watch what I'm doing here. I'm just always going 3 out, and see how it just lines up with the ends of my catchment areas. So if we go 3 out from here, leave 1 space, 3 out, and what we would probably have, normally I would have a line running out like that. In fact, normally I'd be running a loop, but we're not talking about that yet. So let's build that like that. So now what we've done is create the opportunity for this city to grow all through here. Add in new houses. We've already given them the streets, so they don't have. Now, if we didn't do that, the game itself, as it needed to grow, it would expand the street network and it would expand the houses. But it might do it in the wrong way. It might go off the wrong way. But if we give it the road off the bat, that tells it, hey, this is where you need to grow. So we can even fill in. Oh, let's see. What can we do? We can go. I think to there. Nope, one too many. Like so, and that allows houses to be built in here. This is already good. This is already pretty good. So, I mean, we could throw another street in there or whatever we wanted to do. I said this before. I hope they change this so that these roads actually have to connect, so that you have to actually have a realistic looking street layout. And I know the game is going to expand. The plan is the game will expand past trains and they'll add other transportation, which tells me there's probably going to be trucking and buses and all that kind of stuff. And if that's true, then of course your road network would have to make sense. This is literally worthless. I mean, these streets, all a person could do who lived here is go drive to his neighbors. That's all he could do. But anyway, that's how it works for now. So if we build that out, and then we go over here to Colorado Springs and we do the same thing. We extend with platforms. Now, it only let us go out this far with that one. That's because we built this back this way. We intentionally turned it vertically so that it would reach out this way farther and pick up these houses out here. So instead of building like we did over here, we could go out 4 squares because this is turned parallel to the station, but over here, because it's turned vertically to the station, we can only go out 3. So in other words, your station can only be 6 by 6 at this stage. There is a station extension later, but that's later on down the road. So for an early going, this is as big a station as you can make. So we're going to do the same thing, use our little technique and paint out 3 past, 3 past, 3, and 3, and 3, and 3, like that. I do like this because it's so easy and straightforward. We'll throw our track out there just to make sure it doesn't grow on us, and then we can even, what we can do, now the good news is also, when you use these platforms, you're actually reserving space for future buildings. Like if I wanted to put a restaurant in later on, the building will come up later phase. I can just throw it right on top of the platform, and I've got the space. I don't have to worry about the city growing and taking away my space. So in that case, I'm going to just go ahead and use the same technique and paint that area so that houses can be built in there, and we can even give it a little, like that maybe. Okay, and we could do something over here if we wanted to. Maybe just give them one street to build off of. So now we've got 2 cities that are all set up and ready to go and ready to grow the way we want them to. Now, we spent our money. We could go get a loan and get more money. And the whole point, by the way, since we're talking about money in this thing, by the way, here's a quest we finished. Here's 2 quests we finished, so we get rewards for them. So we click on this to get it. And here's another one we finished, so we clicked on that. So what we've got now are 2 cities that are ready to grow. We've got a train running back and forth between them, supplying the people they need to grow. And every time that train stops at a station, we make a whole bunch of money, and that's lovely. Okay? So that's how you make money in this game. That's the main way. We'll talk later about different ways to make it. But this is how we make money. This is how we set up our cities to grow. And this is how we set up the cities so that they will grow in a way that we maximize our benefit of the city growth, so that city growth stays within the catchment area of our station and our platform, so that we can get more and more passengers. And what will happen eventually, now this is a nice short line, so this train can really service these 2 very nicely. And by the way, you also notice the money that we make doesn't appear to have anything to do with the distance traveled. So when he comes in here, it's a little hard to tell, but watch what happens when he moves into the station. See, here's the money that we got, and it's from the passengers that unloaded in that station and the money that we received for it. But it seems to be a 1-to-1 to what we've got. And let's just test that. We've got 294. We'll pay a little bit of maintenance. We've got almost 50 going back. So we would expect our when this hits to hit around our money to jump to about 340-ish. 338, yeah. So it's kind of a 1-to-1. And by the way, that restaurant I mentioned gives you an extra 25%. So that's one reason you put it in, but main reason actually. But basically, you're getting 1 coin per 1 passenger for the line, and it wouldn't have mattered if we had run this from here to here, or if we had run it from here to Portland, it would still be the same pay. So you love these short lines. the kind of disadvantage of the short lines is that it's harder to fill the trains up because they hit so often, but that's okay because you're still getting that same steady flow of passengers. Now, let's say, what else would we want to talk about? I want to cover the kind of the first phase of green coins and city growth. All right, so city growth, I'll probably do another video at a different point or talk about it during a playthrough about the two other things that can grow the city right now as the game stands. You can grow the city by moving mail into the city. So any city that has a post office is eligible to move mail. So later on in a different age, when we have mail come up and post offices are built, we can add cars to our trains that carry mail, and there'll be goals for the mail growth, and when we move mail and or passengers into a city, it'll help it grow. And then even later on, we'll have goods that are produced in factories and in refineries, and those goods can be shipped in any place where we have a shop, and if there's no shop, we can build our own. And the shops, the presence of goods will help the city grow. So now the city growth gets more complex. It starts out with just passengers, then you add mail, and then you add goods, and all those things can help the city to grow. Those are all things that you can use. I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, the other thing to think about, and this is really, well, no, this is more of like a, how are we going to play the game? How are we going to lay it out? We'll get into that in a different video. But this one, I just wanted to talk about just basic mechanics about how cities grow. We saw that the main way. How we get paid our currency, our money. How do we make money? What's the money used for? And why is it so important? And it really is the single most important one because, again, it's your track, it's your tunnels, it's your bridges, it's your terraforming. It pays for a lot of stuff. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to try my best in this series of Mashinky to keep these videos a little shorter. I know it's not in my nature, it's really hard, but I'm going to do my best. So I hope that one helps you, give you an idea of one of the fundamentals of Mashinky. And the next thing we're going to do is actually apply that fundamental. I'm going to go back and restart this map, and we're going to apply that fundamental to how we might go about actually playing this map. So I will regenerate with the same in the next video, I'll regenerate with that same seed, and we will actually play the first part of the game and show you how to apply this. And I mean, I think you can see it pretty obviously, but I'm going to talk about what we want to do to give us a really strong economic foundation to build upon. So I hope this one was helpful for you. Hope it helps you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next video. Thank you.